Un, deux, trois. Not yet.
Okay, so welcome to Sparkling Harmonies. We're your hosts, Lili
And François.
And we are two friends who don't listen to the same bands or genres, but
we are here to talk about everything and anything music related.
Yay! And today we have Caro, who is one of my friends. So this is starting a new series on, I guess we can say, little debates or kind of just little questions that we have. And we wanted to have other input than, just our two heads. So we're going to have some of my friends on, some of François' friends, or some people that he's met through his music too. So this is our new series. We don't really have a name for it. Maybe we will by the time we release it, but maybe not.
Maybe we'll find the perfect name.
Maybe from now until Tuesday, which is 3 days away.
Pressure.
So Caro, she is not working in music, but she has been heavily implicated since the past 15 years. She was surrounded by musicians on her dad's side of the family. And then in Cégep, she partnered up with one of her friends to start a booking company. And that's how I actually met her back in 2009, 2010. We met up the first time, I think it was at one of the metro stations, because I was buying tickets off of her. And look at where we are now.
Yay.
So she's toured with bands, being their merch girl a couple of times, right? And now she works for a financial institute, which has absolutely nothing to do with music. But she still travels a lot, and she still goes to a lot of shows. Well, no traveling right now, but before. We were actually supposed to go on a road trip in 2020 to see the Sad Summerfest. And then we were supposed to be in Phoenix 2 months ago for 8123 Fest. Eventually we'll get back there, but for now we're just home listening to music and sending each other memes about concerts and stuff. Anything you'd like to add, Caro?
No, you did a very good job with the resume of my involvement with music.
So we're going to start with a few get to know your guest questions. Go ahead, François.
So what was your first album?
First album. Okay, so the very, very first album it's not really an album, as you know, when I must have been 10 years old or something like that. And I had my first CD player, my first radio with CDs, and my mom bought it for me for Christmas. And along with that, I had a CD that was called Chante comme tes idoles, so sing like your idols. And it was kind of like it was instrumental with all the songs of the first album of the Spice Girls. And I had a booklet with the lyrics. So that's the first CD I got. But the very first album that's an actual album is this one. Aaron Carter.
Oh my God, yep. I had that CD too.
I had the biggest crush ever on Aaron Carter. Yeah, my sister, but I didn't like Nick. In the Backstreet Boys, my boy was Brian. I like funny guys, so obviously it had to be Brian. But when Aaron started making music, my sister showed it to me because she's a Nick's girl. And I fell in love. So she got me this album for my birthday when it came out.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Do you still follow him?
If I still what?
Follow him?
Because no, not at all. Many years ago, he released an album more mature, I guess, but I was way past that. I got this album, and I have I think it's called Aaron's Party.
Yeah, I also had that one.
After that,
yeah, he's blonde.
I just moved on.
Yeah, but now I think he's a good example of a child superstar going like I would say berserk because he's now I think he's on restraining orders with
Really?
all his family. Don't quote me, but I know he's really weird. Like he had drug problems. I think he got arrested because he had too much gun in his house and stuff like that. Like I said, he's sadly a child superstar that went wrong.
Yeah.
So
I didn't know it went that far.
Yeah,
I
me
didn't know it
neither.
went that far, but I knew he had like big drug problems. And he didn't turn out very well.
And I guess everybody was comparing to his bigger brother. So
His brother, yeah.
Exactly. They
But-
saw
so
how
I
much
think
it worked. So, go
But
ahead.
a few years ago, like I think 5-6 years ago, he was at the Petit Campus or the Café Campus. Because I know like a few people who went, and like part of me is like, I wanted to because, you know, this was like one of my big childhood crushes. But then part of me was also like, do I really want to see the now?
no, you don't want to scratch the whole dream.
Oh no, that would ruin. Yeah, I thought about it too because I remember it, but I was like, no, I'm just gonna leave it with the good memories and not ruin anything with whatever he's become now.
Yeah. And so what is your most memorable experience with music?
Well, since I've traveled a lot, I have many. Music like show wise.
Anything.
My favorite, show. Like at a show, my favorite one was I traveled with a friend to New Bedford, Massachusetts, to see my favorite band play in their hometown. It was in a garage. It was packed. We were sweaty from head to toe. It was so gross. You know when it's so hot in there that you see the sweat on the walls.
Yeah. The best shows.
Oh yeah, I had such a good time that night, and it's small, so it's not like the stage is your height, so they're up to your face. It was amazing. I absolutely loved it. So that's my best memory. There's not much of a big story except after the show. It's New Bedford. It's not ghetto, but it's not so safe either. So I texted one of my friends that lives in Westport, which is a city close to there. And I was like, man, he didn't come. So I was like, you missed like such an amazing show. He was like, what are you doing? I was like, oh, just hanging out in New Bedford because we were catching up a bus, but only the next morning. So we were spending all night just wandering in the city up until we could catch the bus. And my friend was like, where are you? We're going to pick you up. It's so dangerous. You're going to get shot. And we were like,
wow.
Yeah. So he picked us up. And with touring, I have so many good memories. We have so many things happen, but I think the one that I'm most fond of was our last day of touring I toured with a band called Hartford. They're from Ottawa. And we were on tour with a band called Color. They're from Newmarket, Ontario.
Oh,
and
all these names bringing back so many memories.
Oh yeah, such good bands too. I loved both these bands. And so we were touring in the Maritimes. And the very last day, we decided to go to the beach. And Kyle from Color, he was just walking around the beach and he saw these holes in the water. And he was like, what the fuck is that? And I know because one of my best friends, sorry, I swore.
It's okay.
Okay, good. One of my best friends is from Magdalen Islands. So she goes to what they call la pêche au coq. Like you have to dig in the sand and you get the shells and there's seafood in there. So I explained that to Kyle and he was like, you know what, we should dig and make ourselves dinner. So we started digging in the holes and then it was so lost. We had to drive like 15 minutes to get to a supermarket, a very small one, by the way, where we could get like some food to cook it with. And we made a fire by the sea and we cooked it. The guys were like, maybe we're going to get food poisoning. And
maybe it's possible. Yeah.
And it's so, I realize it now, but it was you can get paralyzed if you get something that's not properly cooked. It's not fresh. You eat that, you can paralyze. We didn't know that. Everybody's alive today. It didn't go wrong. But it was a great time. I loved it. It was a good memory.
Okay, so this is my question where I open up since the beginning of the podcast. So I'm really curious about this one. Name a musical guilty pleasure of yours.
That's gonna suck because I'm very proud of everything I listen to. Like I have no shame at all. I know I listen to your podcast. I love it, and I know that's what everybody says.
But, there's just François.
Come on, I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. Come on.
I do have an answer for you because I'm not ashamed, but it's more like music that people wouldn't think that I listen to.
Mm-hmm.
I really, really enjoy listening to music that they pass on Rock Détente, which is like, like French, Quebec, or
Marjo.
Marjo. Yeah, I love Francis Cabrel, Céline Dion. If we drive together, you're in my car and I put the shuffle on my playlist. It's going to go from like super cheesy French music, and then it's going to go to hardcore, and then pop punk, and then but I love it, and I will sing my heart out when the songs play.
And you know what's funny? There's a show on Rock Détente during Labor's Day weekend called Guilty Pleasure, and it's all those songs. So I'm pretty sure I'm not alone.
It's good music. I mean, it's part of our culture, I guess.
Yeah.
And what is one of your artists of the moment right now?
Grayscale. I absolutely love. It's funny because we went. I think it was Warped Tour, but not the last year, but the last full touring.
2019.
Yeah, that one. So there was all these bands. There was Grayscale, Broadside.
With Confidence.
With Confidence, Don Broco. They were all playing on the same stage. And when I went, I bought everybody's albums, but not Grayscale. They're the only one I didn't buy. I don't know why, but I knew these guys from a playlist that I listened to on Spotify. That's it's called Punk Unplugged.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
they have a song. They have a song called Forever Yours on it, and I loved it. I don't know why I didn't buy the album, but I really liked the band, and I went. I saw them play all that, and then a few months later, they go on tour with. I think
didn't they tour with the Main?
Yeah, and because I travel a lot, you see, so I
get mixed up in all your
exactly.
dates.
I'm not sure if it was with the Main or if it was with Don Broco. They might have toured with Don Broco. No, State Champs. I don't know. I'm sorry. I apologize.
It's all over the place.
Yeah. It gets all mixed up. But anyway, so I go to that show and they play, and I bought both of their albums. And when I did, like I listened to them nonstop. It's amazing. And not recently, it must have been like a year ago, but to me it's recent because 2020 passed by so fast.
Yeah, surprisingly.
The longest year, but the shortest year. And they released an album called Nella Vita.
Nella Vita, yeah. I listened to that last year.
It's such a good album. I absolutely love it. And they partnered up with the Main. The Main helped them on this album, so it's. I'm also a big fan of the Main, as you may notice now. And but Grayscale is they're an amazing band. I love them.
Yeah, it's funny because I'm sorry. Finish.
Yeah, I'm just going to say one last very funny story. So I go to, here's the story with Don Broco. They didn't play with them. I went to Philly, and they're from Philly. So I go to Philly, and I have my Grayscale t-shirt. I didn't think about it. I just wore it because I love that shirt. And I go to see Don Broco. And in the end, I go and I talk to the guys, and they're like, oh, Grayscale, we love this band. We're friends with them and all that. And the guy from Grayscale walks by, and he's like, hey, they were like, hey man, go over here. And I was like, I was so shy. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna let you guys talk, and I'll just I'm gonna go.
But it's funny because like what I was gonna say was I did 2 dates of that 2019 Warped Tour with two of our other friends, and we mainly were for the main stage, right? Because the main stage lineup was also pretty crazy that year. There was a lot of good bands on that stage, and the 2 dates that we went. Well, one of the dates that we went anyway in where did we go? We went to Toronto, but we also went somewhere in the States that I always forget where. But that day, it was like a stadium, like not a stadium, but an amphitheater. And they had a limited capacity in that like section. Once you were in, if you went out, you might not be able to have access back to like the front pit area. So we were kind of stuck there all day, which sucked because I would have liked to see With Confidence on their stage. I would have liked to see Grayscale. Like I think I passed. I heard one With Confidence song because we were lining up to take photos with Simple Plan.
Wow, it's not even close to a show.
But yeah, so I was kind of sad because I liked With Confidence, but the 2 girls that I was with, they didn't really care. So it's funny because Kim, I always have to remind her who With Confidence is, and I think it's she gets mixed up with Confidence and Grayscale.
Oh, really? But
Yeah.
they were on the same stage. So I was, it's funny because I was talking about Grayscale with my friend just yesterday, and she was like, oh, Grayscale, I always mix them with Broadside. And they were all on the same stage.
Yeah.
All the bands, they all get mixed up.
But for me, it's funny because it's a running gag now. Every time I post anything With Confidence related, I tag Kim and I'm like, Paquerette Kim, that's With Confidence, because she knows that song.
Yeah.
It's one of their songs. It's a really good song. I love it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I love it too.
But so what is one of your songs of the moment right now? It could be from another artist. It can also be from Grayscale.
Oh, it's not from Grayscale. It would be, there is this one song that every time I hear it, I'm always like, oh, I love it. Like it gets me, you know. This song is Colorblind by Movement. It's amazing, but I don't listen to it on repeat as much as I would say I listen to John the Ghost a lot since he's released his album. Yeah. And I think I was able to choose my favorite song finally after listening to it for a few times, and it was Roll Down Window. I love it.
Really?
It's groovy, you know. It makes me, and it's starting to get hotter outside. The sun is coming out. I just want to go in my car and drive with my roll down windows and sing.
The appropriate song for a road trip.
Yeah. Exactly, which I cannot do at the moment, but hey, might as well drive around Montreal.
You know what's crazy? That song was released almost a year ago.
Yep. I didn't listen to it as much because I try not to focus too much on the singles. I'd rather wait till the album comes out. I did listen to it before, but not as much because I really like to have. I want to have
the full album experience.
Yeah, but just I don't want to have a biased opinion on a song because I listen to it too much. So I'd rather not listen to it too much, listen to the album, and then I know which song really gets to me. Yeah.
So you were expecting an album. I wasn't expecting an album because, you know, like it had been 5 years since he released his last EP. I thought it was just like a song.
No, I was thinking if he was working on something, it's John. He has to put something out. Like, yeah.
Yeah. And so François, what have you been listening to this week?
It's not a song or an artist. I want to do a little shout out to my wife podcast, La Vie Secrète des Geekettes, because I had the chance to watch Underplayed with my wife on International Women's Day. It's a documentary about women in EDM scene. It's a Canadian documentary. There's a lot of artists I didn't know about because I know nothing about EDM music.
Me neither.
But there's a lot of Rez. It's a girl from Toronto, Alice in Wonderland, Nervo. There's a long list of women. They share their experience during the 2019, if I remember correctly, summer festival season. And sorry, it's old news, but still a thing even in 2021. There's our story. Literally, there's like sexual abuse, verbally abuse, mental abuse. it's sad. And I heard some weird answers like, oh, sorry, we already have a woman on the first spot on the poster.
That's
So sorry,
crazy.
we'll see you next year, maybe. And I think it's Tiger Paw. She won a Grammy. She had like 80 millions listener on Spotify, and she never did the top 10 spot in the DJs, the top 10, whatever, every year they had, because sadly she's a woman. So it's really interesting, and it's opened my mind a bit because, like I said, I never listened to that kind of music. So we did a little playlist on Spotify with all those artists to listen to during the day when I was working or doing chores. So I just discovered something new. And what about you, Lili?
I am still in my same phases. I'm sorry.
Again?
But this last week, I've been listening more to Day 6 a little bit. I went back to them a little bit just because last week, their leader announced while he was going to the military base that he was enlisting for his mandatory military service, which was a shock because Day 6 are releasing an album next month. So everybody was very confused. We didn't know what was happening, but it was because the album and all of their promotion, like their main promotion, was already finished.
Okay.
And for those who don't know, in Korea, there's still a mandatory military service for men. They have up till age 28 to enlist. Now, since last year, they've pushed it back for like the very, very popular idols. And I don't know if it also goes for actors, but so there's one of the guys from BTS who's 28, but he has until he's 30 to do it. And so this guy who was 28 this year, so he would have had to enlist from now till the end of the year. And he decided to do it now. But he was one of the guys that, I think I've mentioned this before on the podcast. There are two guys in Day 6 who are on break for the past year for mental health issues. And so he said he wasn't ready to do promotion anyways. So I think for him, it was just the best time to leave. But he said that when he's going to come back, he's going to hold down the fort, because when he's going to come back, there's going to be others who have to go to the army. So he gave a message of hope. But because of that, I have been listening to some of the more emo Day 6 songs, which is like about 80% of their catalog anyways. When I think on it, it's like it's not a surprise that they were my kind of gateway band into K-pop and the Korean music genre, because they are very emo.
Yeah, it's more a rock band.
Yeah, also
K-rock. I don't know how they qualify.
But so there's this one song where they're basically just screaming, almost like, "Why am I alone?" So I've been listening to that one a lot. But I've also been listening to Blue Side, which is a solo song from one of the guys of BTS. Because this song was released a few years back, but they released the full version of it a couple of weeks ago. And I've also been listening to Dynamite by BTS a lot, because this song has been growing on me. It's so catchy. The lyrics to me still don't make sense, but it's just very catchy. And because they're nominated for Grammys this weekend for that song. So that's what I've been listening to. Emo Day 6, Blue Side from J-Hope, and BTS Dynamite, which is like all over the place there. But
yeah. You're living all your emotion at the same time.
Yeah, basically. So now we're going to get into the main topic today, which is shows. Do we go to shows alone? Do we travel to shows? We know who travels for shows. So François and I, we each did a little bit of non-scientific research, each on our side, on our social medias. Very, very non-scientific data. So I put up a poll on my Instagram. Let's see how many people have responded by now. But I also put it onto a group chat. But I feel like I'm like the people that I have around me, it's a little bit biased. So I asked, would you go to shows alone? If you've been listening to our podcast, you know that I would. François wouldn't. Caro I think you would.
Yeah, well, I did plenty of time. Or it's been done already, many.
And I mean, Caro even travels alone for shows.
Yes.
So,
oh yeah,
in her little car. So I asked around, but like to put you in context a little bit, when I went to the main festival in 2019, I had bought my tickets late. So all of my friends had tickets that they bought when they first released. So they all had access to the after party, but I bought the tickets after. So I had access to another after party. And like, that's fine. But, going to a show alone is fine. Going to an after party alone, that might be a little bit more boring. So I joined a group chat. True. But so I joined a group chat where there were like 40 people going to the festival alone.
Oh.
So, like I still have those people on my Instagram. And so like my polls might be a little bit biased because of that, because I have all those people who traveled alone to see the show, who've made friends now through there, but still at the beginning they were alone. So when in my Instagram, I got for the question, would you or have you gone to a show alone? I've got 28 people voted yes. 3 people voted no. And like
I didn't vote on your poll.
70 people didn't answer. What?
And I didn't vote on your poll, so it's not my answer.
No. And yeah, but I feel like the 70 people who didn't answer is probably more towards the no side, but it's also probably people who don't go to shows a lot in general. But so the people who felt strongly about it answered. And so there's only really 3 people who voted that they wouldn't go to a show alone. How did your research, François?
That's funny because I had the question on 2 different plays. It's 2 niche plays, I would say. On one side, it's a closed group we have on Facebook. It's called Le Crotté, so it's all about metal music. And I asked the same question on the guitar forum I go, where people are older than me. So I will say between 55 and 65 or around. So in the metal community, I had 35% answering the question and 31 said yes. So it's mainly accept, or I don't know, a current thing, but all the answer behind under the poll is the same thing. I'm the only person in my group of friends with my wife or whatever that listens to extreme music, so nobody won't come with me. So like you, all the people in those groups say, oh yeah, but I know almost everyone here, so when I go to a show I see someone. So I don't know if I can qualify that as going alone if you have show friend, but that probably the style of music.
I mean, to get show friends, at some point you would have had to gone like alone. I feel like more than 10 years ago when I met Caro, I went to shows like alone. And then through there, that's where I met my show crew. And it's funny because I was trying to think of this. Caro was somebody that I remember precisely how we met. But like most of the others, I have no recollection of how I met them. Like Ketsi, I don't know how I met her. And we're going to have her on the show and we're going to try to find out how we met. But I don't remember when, where I met her and how we started to talk to each other.
Must have been at a main show, I'm pretty sure, because that's how I met Kathy. She didn't come to the shows I booked. She didn't listen to these bands, so obviously she wouldn't be there. And there's Marie-Luc, which she's also part of that group-ish. And I met Marie-Luc at a Hartford show. Well, she's a huge fan of Kamikaze. So she went to see Kamikaze. That's a show that I booked. And I was also doing merch for Heart for That Night because I was on tour with them at the same time. And so I met Marie-Luc at that time. We weren't friends at first because, I mean, she couldn't care less about the merch girl. But over time, she moved to Montreal and we started seeing each other at shows because we listened to the same music. And that's where we bonded. And she also knew Kathy. So I met Kathy through ML, but through the mains show. So it must have been something like that.
Probably, yeah. Yeah, okay. Because like I know Kim I met through MySpace and then we started to go to shows together. I think Fred recognized me from MySpace and she like came up to me when I was giving out flyers or something. And she's like, I think she just like blurted out my name. But like Andriane, I don't remember how I became friends with her at all. Like I don't remember. Like I really need to ask because I don't remember. And then there's just like so many people that I don't remember. But so going back to the topic, I also asked in a group chat as well, and they like, so my demographic, I guess, for my poll is mostly people in their 20s to maybe early 30s. That's really my Instagram, and I even like really early 20s to early 30s. And so some of the people, you know, the answers were mostly, there's nobody who I know who likes the same music I do. I'd rather go than miss seeing my favorite band. You know, like the discomfort, the potential discomfort of going alone versus the sadness of not seeing the band. The discomfort kind of, you know, just gets pushed to the side and they decide to go. But then don't forget, I also have people who worked with me at Confront, and we had to go to shows alone to do reviews.
Yeah. I don't know.
Because like, I feel like there's all that.
Before you asked me the question, I never talk about going to a show alone. Like, to me, it's a social thing. I want to share it with someone. So I don't know. I never experienced it, so I can't say I hate that. I never tried, but it's never crossed my mind before.
But I feel like because when you go to these shows, you're surrounded with people who are also in the same kind of mindset as you, who like the same band, who are having as much fun. So I feel like you don't need necessarily to have an actual friend there because you're kind of surrounded by all these people who do like the same thing and are kind of in the same moment.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Like I said,
I guess I'm just also I'm also a very social person. So like when I went to the main show alone in Florida, I just between the band, I started talking with the person next to me. So I was like, I'm bored. Hi. And so what are some of your thoughts on this, Caro?
Yeah, I do both. I go to shows with friends. I go to shows alone. I really enjoy both experiences. Going alone is nice because, well, not that it's nice, but like when the band is playing, like I'm in my bubble. I'm enjoying the experience, and so being with friends or not being with friends, it doesn't do much of a difference. The biggest difference would be in between bands or before and after. I'm very alone. And I like to talk to people. I'm also sociable, but I'm very shy. So I will talk to you, talk to me, but I won't go talk to you, you know? So there's a lot of these alone times, but I'm very comfortable being with myself. I do not mind at all. I don't have a hard time or anything, you know. I just hang out and But yeah, and the difference with going with friends is that, you know, when you have a song that you relate to, but your friend also relate to. You have a memory about that song. It makes it more special because you're singing along with your friends. So that's also a nice thing. But I would say both experiences are very nice. And François, go try it. Go to a show alone. You might enjoy it more than you think.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
To me, it's like a knuckle thing. Like people, because like we had the answers. Many people go to show alone, so I guess it's not something too difficult. I guess, but I don't know. Like I said, it's never crossed my mind. Like Lili said, you want to see a band, you're alone, so you go because there's more pros than cons. But to me, if nobody wants to come with me, I just don't go to the show. I don't have the reflection of, oh, maybe I can go alone or tag with someone else. Maybe, I don't know, but it's a new thing for me.
Yeah, well, I feel like even, you mentioned that the most, the kind of uncomfortable situations can arise from between bands when that's when you really feel like you're alone because everybody's going to be talking with people. But even now, because of having the internet at our fingertips, like you can talk to your friends in between bands easily.
Yep. So true. I do that.
Yeah. Like
best show of my life.
I remember well, because I remember when I was in Florida, I always go back to that show because that was like one of the big ones that, I was really far and alone. And so at that show, for the first time ever, I was front row first. And so
survived.
like I was sending pictures and I said, well, front row at the main show is not a big deal. Like, it's not very rough unless you're at Warped Tour. But so like I was texting, I think I texted in our group chat, Caro, like, hey, I'm at the bar.
Yep, I remember.
Yeah. So, like, I feel like it's even easier to not feel alone, even while you're going to a show alone.
Yeah, that's true.
Than it was before.
I was wondering, François, because you say you never thought about going to a show alone because, I mean, if nobody's going, then you're not going. But have you ever been in that situation where it's your favorite band or a band that you absolutely love? Would you really miss it because you don't want to go alone, or it's just that it's never happened?
I did.
Oh, you did?
Really?
Yeah, I did. Because I was like, there's nobody, so I would just skip it. And I must admit, I really, really regret it because the band went on hiatus, but I'm pretty sure the band was to break up. And I was like, oh, damn, I probably missed it for good. And maybe like 7 years after that, they went to AVMTL and I went. But I was with friends, but I went and I was like, okay, yes, check. I saw them. I'm happy. But I don't know. Like I said, to me, it's a social gathering. Like I want to share it. It's like, but maybe it's another thing. I never went to a party alone. But when I mean alone, it's not, I didn't have a girlfriend. No, it just, if my friend don't go to a party, I don't go to that party. So maybe but I don't feel like I miss that much. I miss some stuff, but I don't feel like I miss it. And that's funny because I'm probably like the most social butterfly ever. So probably after like 10 minutes, I will know everybody. So I don't know why I never did it.
But see, that I wouldn't go. I'm not the type of person who would go to a party alone. But for me, shows, it's just another way to enjoy music. And I enjoy my music alone at home anyways. So it's just another way to enjoy it. Yeah.
Maybe.
A party is different. Yeah. A party is different. I mean, I must have been to parties alone. If you meet people, then that's nice. But the risk of going to a party alone is that you may not enjoy yourself because if you talk to no one or nobody talks to you, then it gets boring easily.
Yeah.
Going to a show alone, you're still going to have a good time because you get what your a band that you love playing. And that's how I started, because my favorite band, I like all my friends, my closest friends, I know them because of music, thanks to music. So we kind of all have the same taste in music, so we go to shows together. But my favorite band, I don't have friends that like them. Like they've come with me before because they are, in my own opinion, the best band I've ever seen.
Are you talking about Scream?
Wilhelm Scream, yeah. Yeah, these guys, they're amazing musicians, very technical. It's put on such a great show. They have great energy on stage and all that. So I'm always like, if there's one band that you have to see, come with me, see them play, and then you'll see how good they are. So yes, they do. Every time I brought a new friend to see them play, they always had the same opinion. They are amazing. They're very good. I go see them play again, but they don't really listen to that type of music on CD. So they're going to come with me like in Montreal or Quebec City or Ottawa, but they won't drive all the way to Florida with me to go see them. So,
but like the question that popped in my mind is, when you go alone to a show, where do you sit in the crowd? Because normally, I choose two spots. If it's a band I don't know, I prefer to be in the back to to see the whole thing. I really like to see what's going on between the band members. I have an example. The first time I saw DJ Champion. It's a DJ with three guitarists and a singer. And the first time I saw the band, I was really in the back to see how the guy coordinate everything, because he's mixing live. But he's mixing live with live musician. So to me, it's like a way to appreciate the work behind. But when I know a band, I don't have to concentrate on that kind of stuff. So I want to be in the front row as much as possible.
Right.
I want to be like you told us about the show where everyone is sweaty. To me, it's the best show. I want to be a part of the whole body of it. I want to sweat with people. I want to feel them. I want to smell them. I want to be drenching in sweat and beer. I want to feel it. To me, that's a good show.
Yeah.
So
that's the experience behind it. Yeah, I totally feel you on that. I like both going alone. It depends on the type of music, on how much I love the band. For example, a Wilhelm Scream, don't think about me being at the back. It's always up front, in the middle, and it's heavy music, so it moves a lot. Like there's circle pits, mosh pits, things like that, and I do not care. Like, you're gonna hit me. I once had a beer bottle at somebody hit me with that. I mean, they didn't mean to do it, but you're enjoying yourself, so you don't really notice what you're doing to others. But that experience that's just amazing, because the level of energy, it's just insane. It's incredible. And there's other bands that, if it's more mellow, if it's calmer or more pop, or I'd rather stay in the back because I have more room if I wanna dance, or sometimes I just want to drink a beer and watch them play, so I can be laid back and just enjoy myself. So it really depends on how much I love the band that's playing and the energy that I have.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like I'm going to go back. The Maine is the easy example for me because they're the ones that I've seen probably the most in show. But like as much as I've been in the front, I've also been very often in the back. Like for the festival, we were all the way in the back.
Yeah.
But it's because this was like an all day thing. People were there all the way at the front, like all day. So by the time the Maine played at like 8 p.m., it was hard to get to the front. So rather than trying hard to get to the front and maybe not being able to see, we were just like, we've got a good spot here. We see the stage. And I feel like we got to enjoy it because, there was the sparklers, there was a lot of stuff happening on stage. But then when we went to Sad Summer, we tried to go closer to the front and we had a good time. So it really depends on, really, like you said, the energy I have and the mood I'm in. In Orlando, I was front row And as much as I liked it, in Orlando, the stage was so high
Oh
that
yeah.
I was like this the whole time. Like the stage was, okay, it's hard for me to show you, but it was like this much higher than I was. Like this much above my head, you know? So I was like this the whole time. So that was kind of, that's kind of the downside. I guess it depends on the stage as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
now going to traveling. Oh, sorry. Were you going to add something?
No,
I'm sorry.
it's okay. No, it's okay. Let's go to the traveling because I'm pretty sure I will be the one who talks less.
So for the traveling part, let me go open up my poll again. Traveling, it was about the same. A little bit less people answered, but it was 27 yes versus 1 no. And same thing in that group chat. So in the group chat, it mainly went to, the answers were mostly because bands don't come to where I am. So I have to go to them, which I feel like is something that we can relate to a lot in Montreal as well. I've spent a lot of time in Toronto for shows when I was younger, because bands would skip Montreal, or because if they didn't skip Montreal, Toronto was the next day. So we're like, let's just go. It's right there. But I have like one of the girls, she went to see bands in Japan, New Zealand. And wow. I have people from the East Coast of the US traveling to the West Coast of the US for shows. I know there are people from Europe. Like there's that Kathy's friend from France who came here to go see Warped Tour.
Yep.
So yeah, but I feel like the mains community, we travel a lot.
Each time I heard about the main community, it's made me think about the Celine Dion community. Because
really,
yeah, because they are really engaged. I know it's not the same level, but they are really engaged. So, for example, when Celine was in Las Vegas, I remember seeing a reports on TV. There's like people from all around the world having booked an hotel, a restaurant, an after party, and everything. Okay, it's probably not the wild party you imagine, but they are really into it. So they may have a really good way to do it.
Yeah, because the main for their festival last time, there was like 5,000 people from around the world, all in Phoenix. That weekend was crazy because no matter where you walked, you saw people who were at the shows. Yeah. And so, Caro, what are your thoughts about this, since you do travel quite a lot?
Yes, I am one of these people who, in your recent podcast, when you were talking about our last night and people traveling to the US and Europe, I am
that was you?
One of these people. Yeah. So I've seen them I'm also a Patreon member, and I've seen them in Paris, in Germany. I saw them in various places on the East Coast, because it's just so easy to go to Boston, New York, and all these it's easy. It's easier because it's closer, but yeah, and I've seen them in Montreal, Toronto. I've traveled a lot for them. The thing is, for me, it's easy to do because I have good contacts, meaning that I can travel to Europe, and it's as easy for me traveling to Europe and it's the same amount of time, because the flight would be 8 hours?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's even closer for me to go see them in Paris than drive all the way to New York. And I have access to very cheap plane tickets, as my roommate, which is also one of my best friends, she works for an airplane company. So we get to go for very cheap. And it's nice too, because you get to see different places. I love to travel, not only for music, just travel in general. And it's nice because at the same time, we get to see people, we get to meet people. Like I remember in Germany, we met this girl, Nina, and she's such a beautiful soul. It was amazing meeting her. She's so nice. She's outgoing, and it's just cool because if you just stay home, then you never meet these people. Yeah. So it's
But when also, Caro,
No,
Oh no,
go with
I
it.
was just gonna say Caro likes to drive.
Oh yeah,
Also.
I love to drive. It's
So-
for me, it's a therapy because I listen to music, I sing my heart out. Well, most when I'm alone, not with people because I'm a horrible singer. But yeah, I sing. It's just like anything that's it's like going to a music show. Like you scream your heart out. To me, driving does the same. It's as much of a therapy driving than going to a show because you can finally express anything I'm not a person that gets angry ever. I'm always in a good mood, but I do have frustration sometimes, but I don't express it. So doing that, it allows me to let it all out. So it's a good thing. But yeah, I once drove alone to Florida for a music festival. Yeah, it was, the weekend itself was amazing. Well, I mean, once I got there, I knew people. Like I was going because a Wilhelm Scream was playing, but I also had two friends in different bands that were playing, so I got to see them at the same time. So once I got there, I wasn't alone. But driving from Montreal, well, Trois-Rivières, because I lived in Trois-Rivières back then. So driving from Trois-Rivières all the way down to Florida, it was quite the experience. I liked it. The way there was nice. The way back, not so much. I almost lost my wallet. I got lost on the way. I got they oh no, I had a speeding ticket. It was not, the way back wasn't so nice, but it was still worth it.
Did you go straight or did you stop and so I think you are the type of person who would sleep in your car, right?
Yep. That's exactly what I did. I stopped to sleep and then I just went all the way there. I didn't.
Wow.
I drove. It took me. Well, it's. I don't like. I would say almost a whole day getting there, and coming back. I left because I left super early the day that I was going to Florida. But coming back, I wanted to see shows in the. Well, not the morning, but early afternoon. So I left after. So as I was leaving after, yes, I had to. I stopped. What I do is I stop in truck stops. I park there, and I have like a nice setup that I do at the back of my car. Like it's like going camping. Actually, it's exactly like camping, but I don't have a tent. I have my car. So yeah, it's quite the experience.
So that means when you buy a new car, you watch for the thing you need, like. Do I have enough space to sleep? Do I have enough space to put my stuff to heat?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I wouldn't buy a Smart. That's too small. Yeah. I need a car that's almost like a house.
And you, François, have you or would you travel to go see a show? And how far would you go?
I would. I don't really mind because I really love travel, but I never traveled with the goal of going to a show.
Okay.
But I went to Japan. I went all over Europe. I went whatever. Especially with my wife, we travel at least once or twice a year normally. But we never did it on the purpose to go on a show. But it's happened once. We went to Boston, and my wife, she's probably one of the biggest fan of the Foo Fighters, and we went to see them in the, I don't remember the name of the baseball
the stadium
over there. That was amazing because first of all, we didn't know, but when we arrived, they announced that was not the postponed show, but I don't know if you remember, Dave Grohl hurt himself. He fell down the stage during the show, and he had to cancel the show. But that show was in Boston. So when we went to the show, that was the 1 year anniversary. So he said, "Remember, guy, I had to cut the show down because I was hurt. So now I will pay back." So we had a show of like 3 hours and a half without stop, just with the Foo Fighters because there was 2 bands before them. But I really like it. I want to live the experience to travel, but that depends what is traveling to you. Because since I come from a little place in the country, I'm from Témiscamingue, Caroline. So I went to Rwanda, so it's probably like an hour and a half drive. So to me, that wasn't really traveling because there was no show in my hometown, or came to Montreal to see a show. But again, that's not really like an adventure. It's just, okay, the band won't come in my area, so I have to go. But like doing, like you said, going to Paris to see a show, I never experienced it. But if I have the time and money, I will totally do it. So it's probably different, like another experience.
Like, for me, this also got me closer to some people. Because you're with these people either for your long drives or for days at the destination. So like Caro, we met more than 10 years ago, but I feel like we only got really closer 3 years, three in Sad Summer.
Yeah.
Time is very complicated now. So when we went to Sad Summer, I feel like that's when, and I think I've been saying it wrong. So I've been mentioning the 2019, but it was 2018 Warped Tour. 2019 was Sad Summer.
Oh.
So I feel like that's when we got closer and we got to know each other, because at the beginning we were supposed to be like 5 people going to that show. And then 2 weeks before, we found out that it was just going to be us 2.
Yeah.
For what that was like a 5-hour drive. And so we both didn't know how it was going to go. But we had a really great time.
It can be tough.
Yeah. But I strongly believe that the best way to bond with someone is go on the road with them. All of the people that are closest to me, I've always experienced that with them. Marie-Luc, I traveled. Well, we didn't go for a show. We traveled to visit friends that we met there. It was we were very close to Crisis Jane, and we went to visit them for a long weekend in March of 2010, I think. And it was my first long trip with Marie-Luc, and that's we were seeing each other as a show, but the thing with Marie-Luc is that she has so much energy. Yeah. And she's quite something. So that's something that you see someone at a show, they have a lot of energy, it's just a couple hours, so it doesn't bother. But when you spend many, many hours with someone, like in a plane and on a trip, and at first I was like, oh, how am I going to survive this? But we found a way to make it work, and now she's one of my best friends as well. So, but we had to do that, and I after that we drove together to Toronto, to Guelph, to Quebec City, to so many places together, and that's how we made those links, and that's how and it all because it was on the road.
I think it's a life pro tip. If you want to know someone, like you really want to know someone, go on the trip with it, with her or him. Especially if you want to marry someone, go on a trip with her or him. You're gonna see some stuff you never noticed before.
Yeah, but I feel like for especially for the types of traveling for shows, is that your common goal is the same. Because I've traveled with people where, we're going to a country, but, we don't want to visit necessarily the same thing. So then we can get into conflicts because of that. And it has happened to me. But with this, we're going there because we want to see this band. So there's less room for big fights, I feel like, to arise. But yeah, so this was our episode about shows. Do you guys have anything else to add?
Yeah, I want to thank Caroline to save our ass.
Yeah, we made a little mistake last week. This was an episode that was supposed to be planned for like 2 weeks later, but you have it this week.
So a big thank you, big thank you.
You are very welcome. It was very nice to share that moment with you guys. I really enjoyed myself.
And thanks for listening to our podcast, Caro. Now, this was Sparkling Harmonies. We're your hosts, Lili.
And François.
And we had our guest, Caro, here today, who talked a lot about shows with us. So if you enjoyed our episode, check out our Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. We're not very active on Twitter. Still working on that. And come back in 2 weeks for another episode. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.